Captain Picard. Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
My Readier Room.
Welcome to the Readier Room, the only and longest-running Star Trek The Next Generation rewatch podcast, brought to you by people who worked on the show, loved the show, birthed the show, and afterbirthed the show. My name is Mitchell Mells, Chief Consultant of Services at Paramount, and with me is my life partner, Brandon Hobbs. Brandon, how are we doing today?
Don't forget, we are going to unbirth the show as well. I'm very excited today, Mitch.
That's our final episode.
Yes, yeah. I'm more excited than one of Dr. Pulaski's ex-husbands.
Wow,
when the divorce papers come in.
That's quite a lot of excitement. I'm about as excited as a first officer's estranged father, I would say.
Yeah.
So,
you're trying to reconnect with said first officer?
Yeah, I'm trying to reconnect with a lot of things. TNG, my modem, a lot. It's a very storied week of TNG. Not so much of life. I don't think anything happened anywhere in the world this week. But
no,
we press on. We do the show.
Did you see those two fellas who got stuck for 29 days out on a boat?
No, was that us?
No, I wish it was. But they were sailing out to New Guinea, and all they had were oranges. We don't have any Italian listeners.
Oh God, I hope not.
All they had were oranges to eat for an entire month.
That sounds pretty good. That's like a Japanese winter, right there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least they're not going to get scurvy,
Right. I guess if I had to choose a food stuff to have access to while stranded at sea, a fruit would be it.
Definitely. Lots of energy, sweet. Now, by the time they reached land, they were about to die, so...
Well, they timed it well then. Now, here's the thing. So, imagine this. Imagine you're stuck at sea for 29 days and you have a barrel of oranges that you eat over time. There's nothing else to do. Do you think that you make an autistic game out of how well you can peel each orange as you eat it?
Yeah,
like
you peel it in designs like a spiral.
Something like that, or you try to do it with leaving as much of the innards intact, like without puncturing it, or not leaving those strands behind. You know what I mean?
Try to do it with one hand.
Yeah, sometimes just bite into it like an apple.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's how you stay sane.
Certainly.
Let's see. Now, were they oranges or one of the many orange variants, like the tangerine or the mandarin orange?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't really read that far into it. I mean, it is kind of in the middle of nowhere, so who knows? They're definitely not our oranges, that's for sure.
Well, I don't even like oranges, like orange, like it's an orange.
The big fat ones.
Yeah, the juice isn't as sweet.
Yeah, I know. The little ones are way better.
Right, and their seeds aren't as big, so you don't get fucked that way.
Yeah.
Where did they get the oranges?
I don't know. I don't think anyone
experiment?
did that. I don't think anyone did that hard-hitting journalism to figure that out.
Well, I wonder if they were boarded. Like they some craft came to rescue them, and as someone comes down to their little raft, one of the guys says to the other, "We're being boarded." Yeah, like a maritime vessel.
They wouldn't have had a choice.
Well, even prospective New Guineans get boarded sometimes. Very exciting news. I'm very even more excited to see how exactly that connects to the content of this week's episode, because I don't think you would have brought it up otherwise.
and we'll.
What was that?
It's coming.
You'll
see.
Oh,
yeah.
I will see. I'm very excited. Very excited. Anything going on with you these days before we hop into the question of the week? We always have this free time, free chat, free space at the beginning of the episode, and it's a use it or lose it kind of thing. If we don't use it, we're not going to be allotted it in the next episode.
Is this a producer thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know how budgets are with money. If you have a surplus and it's unused, it will just be factored out of the next budget. Time is budgeted much the same way.
Well, I don't know. I don't really have much going on over here. What do you got?
Well, I have something very exciting. Today, I was cleaning my apartment, and I have collected 3 bags worth of garbage.
Oh.
Yes. Now,
you do this, what, 4 times annually?
Take the garbage out? Yeah.
Yeah.
About that much. Now, I found 2 of the bags already collected and tied up in the middle of my kitchen. And the 3rd bag I put together with scraps of things lying around the living room.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a hard day's work, I like to say. Like that Beatles song, a hard day's work.
Yes, it's been a hard day's work.
Yeah. So I was humming that as I was working hard that day, which was today.
I wanna fuck you like a dog, right?
Yeah, I think that's what Sir Paul wrote.
Yeah. Right, Sir Paul.
Yes.
Well, congratulations on your newly clean apartment. That'll last a good couple of days.
Thank you. And I have a final theory before we go into the episode.
Okay.
There's a theory in general that civilizations will develop the same innovations independent of one another, but there's rungs up the ladder that every civilization will meet, regardless of how isolated they are. So everybody will make fire, agriculture, things like that. I have a theory that every modern culture will develop a sprite equivalent of their own. Yeah?
Go ahead.
Like clear, carbonated, sweet beverage.
I thought you meant like the little elf.
Oh no,
little fairy thing.
Well, surely folklore is also developed, but no, I mean like the Coca-Cola Sprite or the Matsuya cider, or what I'm holding in my hand right now is Korean Chilsung cider, which is the same thing. And my theory goes that again, every developed nation will have their own variant of this, and not only that, they all taste exactly the same. Do you have any thoughts on this?
I mean, every developed country, right. I would assume. You're not going to go to New Guinea and find that. Maybe
that's what they were bringing into New Guinea.
Maybe. I don't know. I think probably several South American countries have their own version of that, right?
Yeah, but I'm always wary of South American carbonated beverages because I feel like it's just a vessel to lace with cocaine. And I don't find myself in favelas very often. I don't need to take that risk.
Right. Yeah, understandably so. Well, I think you got a solid theory on your hands.
I'll develop it
at the very least.
I'll publish it, get it peer reviewed.
Yeah.
And take my findings to New Guinea.
So, if you had to choose one, what would it be?
Well, that's part of my theory, is that they're all the same.
Are they all exactly the same?
I think they're all exactly the same. I might go investigate later and buy a Sprite and buy a Matsuya cider and drink this chill sung cider. But
yeah,
I don't know. I don't want to drink a bunch of fucking soda. Like,
well, we have our Readier Tastes channel.
That's true.
That you could do that for.
Yeah, it would be a good fit for the Readier Tries It segment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always on the hunt for rare and exotic foods, such as Sprite, to feature.
Yep. Or Sakura Kit Kats.
Yeah.
Or
be on the lookout, by the way. Readier Tastes patrons. On the Patreon for subscribers, there's a special video coming that features one Nico Avocado. So, if
that's right. Oh man, what a pleasant young man.
Indeed, I was struck by his entrepreneurial spirit and real go-getter attitude in terms of content creation, and he's gonna bring a lot. So, patrons, you don't want to miss out on this.
Certainly not. We will have obviously the normal video is going to be up on YouTube. We'll have the uncensored version on Dailymotion.
Dailymotion, and a special cut of it, I think, we'll put up on our OnlyFans.
Okay.
It's gonna, there's lots to shake out here. Video. Yeah, you guys might not know this. Video content creation is kind of a big deal. It's a big thing. So
a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. It's you got to find an editor, pay them, tell them what to do, and it's a lot of emails. I think
sometimes they make mistakes, even, which is just horrendous.
It is, and it's always a big panic because the video has been up for 3 weeks by that point, and you find the YouTube comment, and it's you got to fire the editor.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
It is. You hitch your name to their wagon, and look where it gets you.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you get these 20-somethings, these Zoomers, these millennials who have no respect for a hard day's work.
Right. Sir Paul is rolling in his grave.
He truly is. I bet they don't even know that song.
I remember I was in a I was at the Y giving a class to a bunch of underprivileged youths, and
to put it mildly,
and believe it or not, that song came up. So I kind of I was like, everybody, it's a bit off key, but whatever. And nobody had any idea what the hell was going on. And I was so beside myself that I just stormed out of the class. I left the youths with their lack of privilege, and I couldn't bear to teach that fucking lot at that point.
Understandable.
Yeah. The why, that was the operative question at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
How apropos.
Indeed.
The world is truly declining.
Yeah. I mean, the Y is so underfunded by this point that they can't even afford the other 3 letters anymore.
I know.
It's tragic.
Now, but that's the thing, isn't it? When you this generation not knowing the songs that I know and not liking the songs that I like,
right,
is just so representative of where the world is heading in general,
Right. I'm glad that so many of our fans, of Trek's fans, do the right thing. They sit their children down in the chair every night and watch 2, 3, 4 seasons of TNG just to make sure that they get the education, that they know the culture.
And well, I mean, that is the point of having children, is to make a little clone of yourself with the same exact tastes, the same likes, dislikes, same traumas,
Just leave it to the Trek fans. If the world was ruled by Trek fans, I think it would be more utopian in nature.
You certainly wouldn't have to worry about sex.
Wouldn't have to worry about sex. There'd be no Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And T-shirts would only come in XX large.
Is that sports ball you're talking about?
Sports ball? Sports ball? What are you talking about? Oh, sorry. You might know it by its other name, the Superb Owl.
Oh.
That's what I always say. We have our Superb Owl party every year.
Yeah, that one always gets a laugh.
It does. And it's a nice opportunity to come together and show how much better we are than other people.
Yeah, I mean, once you have a certain number of credits under your belt, that tends to be reflected in your paycheck, and let's not get into it.
I'll just say that eating wings takes on a whole new meaning at the Superb Owl party than the Super Bowl party.
True. That's true.
So that's going to bring us to this week's question of the week, which is always my favorite part of the show because I can interface with the lovely fans, lovely ensigns. Mm-hmm. This week's question comes from Little Feather of the Chawpee tribe in Illinois, who asks, "Hey, Admirals, how now? Today, how? Is that your question? Today is Life Day on my reservation. In celebration, I want to gift everyone pregnant Deanna Troi t-shirts. Where can I buy them? Thanks for everything that you do." Well, Littlefoot, that's a great question. We used to have those t-shirts up on sale on the internet, but we had numerous complaints, so we had to take them down. Fear not, pregnant Deanna Troi tees will be back as soon as we can sort out these legal troubles. Today's the 10th, and I think Life Day is usually on the 19th. Because it's right. Yeah. Okay. It's third Tuesday, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be a little close to the wire to get them up, but in lieu of pregnant Deanna Troi, I might make a suggestion is to buy our roots-inspired Geordie Data action figure playset, where you have plantation owner Data and robbed of his cultured Geordie, and buy that action figure set and gift it to all the families on your reservation, and they can set it up like a nativity tableau at Christmas.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Just to keep the spirit of Life Day alive, and as a constant reminder, it's no pregnant Troi, but it has the meaning. I don't know. Do you have any suggestions, Brandon, on how to fill in for the pregnant Deanna Troi tee?
Well, if we're talking about life, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into life, and I think now is probably a good a time as any to announce our new partnership with Bad Dragon.
Yes.
We finally got all the rights squared away for this product. It is a faithful recreation of Data's penis. All 14 inches of it at full length. Of course, you can retract it as well. Obviously, Data would have that ability. So, extremely customizable. Several moving parts. Lots of add-ons. BadDragon.com. That's coming next month. November 3rd.
That's coming next month, and remember, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say it's gonna be a little bit late, but I mean, I think people can wait for it. You know what I mean? I think if you show up and say, "Hey, I got nothing for Life Day yet, but I got something good coming," people will be okay.
I was just trying to do the ad read as we agreed upon, but okay. So as I was saying, with Bad Dragon, it's coming next month, but it won't be the only thing that's coming. BadDragon.com.
Thank you. Yes. We don't want to lose our partnership.
Right. Friend of the show, Bad Dragon. Kind sponsor, #sponsored. Gotta get that in there.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, always a good Life Day gift. I think. A reminder of the creation of life, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I changed my answer. I also agree that any of Bad Dragon's fantastic product line would make a lovely Life Day gift for you and yours.
That's right, Mitch. I use Bad Dragon every night.
You do?
Well, yeah.
Oh.
I mean, and you know when I leave to go to the bathroom.
I mean, I thought things were a little looser, but I don't really know why.
Well, I got to try out the products.
I guess
they keep sending them to us.
It's in a
I can't in good faith.
It's an astounding rate at which they send us these products for testing.
It's just nonstop, and how am I supposed to tell the difference between a red thornback and a black smoke fire? If I don't try them out.
Yeah, I mean, I admire your dedication to the ad. I just wish that they didn't send us the pre-owned versions.
Oh, that's what makes it fun, though. That's part of their hand-me-down program.
For the lesser fortunate.
Well, not even the lesser fortunate, but yeah, I mean, yes, that's one demographic, but also people who kind of want like a more of a thrill,
kind of like the stealing your sister's underwear angle.
Yes. It's for people who are chasing a certain kind of excitement.
Shout out to the trans ensigns.
Shout out to the trans ensigns. We know you're there. We hear you. We love you.
Trans rights are human rights.
Yeah.
There, I said it.
I don't know how many times it needs to be said. But yes, we vehemently agree with that.
And you can quote us on that.
Mm-hmm.
We'll mock up the Readier Room logo with trans flag coloring.
Didn't we do that already?
I think we did a slightly different flag. Maybe it was like orange.
Yeah, we did that with Picard or something.
Yeah, basically the same thing.
Yeah, same thing. The orange and black, whoever those folks were.
Yeah, I think they were the. Fuck, what were they? The non-binaries? NB?
Maybe.
I know they were heckin' valid, which makes me think it was NBs.
Yeah. Well, everyone's valid, so.
Right.
We'll cover our bases. We'll get one of every flag for Picard to stand in front of.
And hopefully that inspires new Trekkers and old Trekkers alike.
Mm-hmm.
And Star Trekkers.
Hopefully it inspires all Trekkers to not cancel us,
Yeah. I live in eternal fear of that.
Mm-hmm. Which is why we do anything we do, of course.
Yeah. I always look under my bed before I go to sleep at night to see if there's any cancellations under there.
Right.
And when
they could come from anywhere now.
They could. The ceiling, the closet, Twitter, anywhere.
Yeah.
So thanks for your question, Little Feather. That's our question of the week. If you at home have your own question of the week that you would like us to answer on a weekly basis, you can email us at thereadierroom@gmail.com, or you can send us a Twitter direct message at @thereadierroom, and we'll take your question, we'll think about an answer, and then we'll tell it to you live on the pre-recorded podcast, which is going to take us to this week's episode, which... this is the worst episode I think we've watched. I think it's the absolute worst episode.
It's not. It's not the worst episode. It's bad, but it's not the worst.
No, it's bad. It's so bad. It's what is worse than this? Don't say the Naked Now, because it's
now.
It's not true. It's not true.
The Naked Now is worse. You just don't remember it.
I mean, yeah, but this is still just a new low, I think. The Naked Now had a Star Trek appropriate
problem.
problem.
I guess so. And
this doesn't.
It wasn't hampered by conflicting interests either, in terms of trying to tell its story. So, but I mean, it's annoying because this episode starts off with what is always an interesting premise to me, and that's the Riker's promotion bit. Where and this happens a few times, where Riker has to choose between kind of leaving the Enterprise behind or leaving Picard behind, and remaining first officer, which there's a lot of emotion that goes into this. Makes it very interesting, theoretically.
Mm-hmm. In actuality, at least in this swing at the bat, it did not land. I thought the resolution of that in particular was very wanting. It was
apropos of nothing, basically.
Yeah. And I'm just going to jump to the end of the episode. Riker just comes in the room and he says, "Oh, by the way, I've declined that promotion." And everybody just smiles. They're like, "Oh, Will, I'm so happy you're stagnating your career." It's bizarre.
Or like they knew.
Yeah, it's like, "Oh, Will, I knew you didn't have any drive in you. You piece of shit."
Yeah.
It's like that that I think it's Tapestry. I don't know why we keep coming back to Tapestry, but where Picard stops himself from getting stabbed in the past, and it has this knock-on effect, and he comes back to the present, and he's like a 50-year-old ensign that's cowardly and has no accomplishments. That's what I picture Riker's trajectory to be when he continuously does not step up for promotions.
First officer, and I mean Picard lays this out pretty explicitly, and I think it's laid out pretty well. When you're the first officer, first of all, a first officer is a high-ranking officer. On top of that, he's on the flagship. So
yeah, but it's just
I understand it being difficult to let go.
Always the bridesmaid, except this time it's by choice. It's like,
well, it's not a terrible choice, though, is it?
Yes and no. At some point, imagine that the Riker was Picard's age. He's not some spry young man with a bunch of cakes in front of him in life. He's an older gentleman who still has not reached the captain's chair.
Yeah, but not everyone's going to become a captain or an admiral.
No,
necessarily.
But I think I get the impression that everybody who gets to first officer, like that position is basically captain in training.
Yeah.
And once you reach that point, you're being groomed.
Which is a bad thing?
It's a bad thing to fight against it and to say, I'm in this transitional position permanently, basically.
So you should accept the grooming.
You should accept the grooming. I've written a lot about Picard grooming Riker.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just from me, but I consider myself an expert on the subject.
Well, and you make no mistake either, because this is grooming, because the age difference is, 20 years?
Indeed.
Yeah, so...
Like, why can't Picard just choose a first officer as old as he is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little bit disgusting, but...
I can see why we had to take this show off the air. It's all the notorious grooming going on. But
so
looking more at just this episode and not missing the forest for the trees. It sucks. So yes, there's that plot thread, and intertwined with that is the appearance of Riker's father.
Yeah.
Who was absentee, who was an absentee, who was absent in his life. And somehow these two things are related, except they're not really.
They're not at all.
But they play them up like they are.
I guess one is the impetus for the other.
Yes,
he's getting promoted, so his father is trying to reach out to him
because he's going to be gone in a remote part of the galaxy. However, it's implied that Riker's father's presence is influencing Riker's decision, which makes no logical sense.
Right.
And I hated all that. I hated everything. There's one thing I liked with Riker's dad, which was his relationship with Pulaski. That was an oddly human bit of character building.
Which is weird, though, because Pulaski last episode acted like she didn't know Riker's father.
Is that true?
Yeah. You remember, Pulaski was in Riker's room when he was making eggs?
Yes.
And they have some little conversation about how, my father had like a recipe. And Pulaski's response, I can't remember what it was, but she definitely responded in such a way that implied that she didn't know who his father was.
That's hilarious.
Should I look up the script? I don't know.
Yeah, you should. I mean, while you're looking it up,
what was the name of that episode?
Times Squared.
Times Squared.
Yeah, I bet you thought I wouldn't know.
I did not think you would know.
What was I going to say? Just so everybody knows, episodes aren't written nor produced chronologically as to where they fall in the season. And sometimes these things are all happening concurrently. So while it is a gaffe that they're placed so close together here, it's not like unheard of. It's more of a coincidence.
Oh yeah. It's a common thing to happen, but it is hilarious when we see it. So yes, Pulaski says, you have a practiced hand, Commander. Riker says, yes, I have my father to thank. And then Pulaski says, your father liked to cook? Which is a pretty basic, aspect of one's personality that any lover would know, probably.
Self-admitted they fell in love. Mm-hmm. And maybe Pulaski's just a cheap, easy whore. Or maybe this
She certainly seems like it. I mean, that would be the canon explanation, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, that's cheap, easy whores are all Riker has sex with, so it only stands to reason that is also true for Riker.
Wow. I'm surprised Riker didn't hook up with Pulaski, actually.
As like the ultimate win over his father.
Now that would be an episode.
Riker cucks Riker.
Just call it Riker versus Riker.
That actually reminds me. Oh god.
What does that remind you of?
About Riker, about the new Riker. God, I'm stuck on Riker versus Riker. So we had to come up with a name for Riker's dad, right? So
yes, that's right.
We had this moment of inspiration, of alliteration. Okay, so there's Commander Riker. It's a K, hard C. How about Kyle Riker? K, yes. Hard K. So it's alliterative. Father and son, their names alliterate with one another. And then, maybe, I don't know, after shooting wrapped in the last days of shooting, we kind of had this collective moment of slapping our heads of like, oh my god, his name's Will.
Yes, but not Commander.
Right. But by that point, it was way too late in the game to change it. We didn't want to ADR out all the right, all the Kyles. It wasn't going to happen.
I mean, what were we going to call him anyway?
Won't?
If not Kyle. Walt, yeah.
I said won't.
That's the thing, though. Oh, won't.
Right, Will
won't. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good. But that's the thing. I mean, we almost never had any characters call that character Will.
Right.
So, and in the script, he was always Riker. It was never Will. It was Riker.
Or Commander.
So, or Commander. Yeah. So, honest mistake.
You can't blame anybody.
No, certainly not.
I have been thinking more about Riker versus Riker, and it's truly a whoever wins, we lose situation.
Yes.
I'm in love with this.
It's, well, we can't do it anymore. I wish we came up with this idea 40 years ago.
Well, live and learn.
Mm-hmm.
The next time we're in such a situation, we'll have this experience to go off of.
Right. Anytime we're doing a poor filler episode of a TV show where one of the main characters meets his father.
Well, I mean, don't. What are you doing? Don't talk about Picard 2.
Sorry. No spoilers. All right, that was the no spoilers were in that statement.
Let's move on. So, what else happened in this fucking episode? Nothing. Oh, Worf. That's what we got to talk about. We got to talk about
this,
Worf.
This weird Saturday morning cartoon plotline with Worf. Where
Worf
Wesley has to figure out his feelings.
Here's the subplot of this episode. Worf is sad.
Yeah.
That's it.
Which is weird. I mean, considering where this episode came from, because originally we were supposed to have the B plot being the Enterprise being outfitted in order to kind of move into the atmosphere of a sun. Because they were going to some sun for a survey, whatever. Which is where the title comes from, the Icarus factor, right?
Oh yes.
The material they were going to use to outfit the Enterprise was going to be the eponymous Icarus factor. We have remnants of this plot line in that they're kind of docking at like a base, right? This episode, and that's where this was all going to happen. But Gene really wanted that Anbo Jutsu scene, so
we had to move mountains.
Yeah, the writers had to retool the script completely, and we ended up with obviously with an Anbo Jutsu scene and with that new Worf subplot,
which I'll reiterate, I think is the worst thing ever.
It's horrible.
Even just from the setup, like all the dialogue is wrong. There's a scene. There's multiple scenes between Data, Geordi, and what's his name, Wesley. And Data and Geordi are written so wrong.
Yeah,
especially Geordi. Geordi in this episode is such a petulant.
He's a dick.
He's a complete dick. And at one point, he's just openly racist. He says something to the effect of like, "Well, I don't know how much I want a bunch of Klingons on the ship." Like, Geordi, Worf is right there.
Yeah. Geordi spends the episode complaining about normal workplace procedure, I guess.
Yeah.
Where you have a second or third eye on your work, but Geordi sits around complaining about how dare they question my work, and he never gets his comeuppance either. He never realizes, oh, maybe I was being a little silly. No. We're just supposed to take that straight and agree with him.
Well, there is that scene where he's talking to O'Brien, and he says, "Well, how would you feel if someone came and looked at the transporter?"
Yeah.
And O'Brien's like, "I don't give a shit. Like, go ahead."
Yeah, but you see, O'Brien's the Irish working man.
Right.
He doesn't care about the quality of his work.
Yes. And he also drinks in this episode.
He does.
Oh, Brian.
Oh, Brian.
No, the Worf thing was so stupid. The setup was stupid. The writing was stupid and out of character. Now, yeah.
I liked the set that we got, though.
For the final scene?
Yeah.
Yeah, who did that again?
Love Klingon sets.
Who was that? It's in our show notes here.
I would say it's probably Rick.
Rick did it? Yeah. I mean, Rick always leaves a lot of himself in his work. And I can see Rick in there.
Well, Rick did the Anbo Jutsu set. I'm not sure if he did I'm pretty sure he did the Klingon set.
No, I think it was Rick. Like, I know what to look for to identify Rick. Rick spotting. That's what I call it. And I can spot Rick in this Klingon scene, which was very, it came about in that rewrite caused by the Gene's concerns, but it was basically lifted directly from a bit of fan fiction. That whole rite of ascension, which necessitated the set. I think it was a Wesley Crusher fan fiction, if I recall correctly, and it was something like Wesley Crusher is at an SM club. And we took that scene and repurposed it for the Klingon rite of ascension with Worf. Aside from that, it basically played out exactly the same, and it led to this really cool set. Had some very nice acting from Michael. Was fleshed out the Klingon lore. It was great. It worked really well.
Yeah. The only problem being that a bunch of Klingon costumes got misplaced after Star Trek V filming wrapped up, so we kind of last minute the costume department had to put together a few facsimiles. You'll notice some of the background Klingons aren't exactly up to snuff in terms of their costume design.
I remember we had to keep shuffling around the costume as the camera focused on different Klingons.
Yeah. One of them is wearing my vest, actually, spray painted.
I didn't know you contributed to this.
Well, yeah, we all, a few of us donated. I mean, it was last minute stuff because we thought we had the costumes, and it turns out we didn't. So, a few of us donated some kind of look-alike clothing items,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's perfect.
Well, you won't notice unless you look really hard at it.
Well, you know what they say, it takes a town to raise a kid.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a crew to make Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. Takes a film crew to make a TV show.
Yeah. Indeed it does. But this Worf thing, aside from, a cool set payoff at the end, takes up so much time in the episode. And I think...
And it's so out of character.
I think you could take every dialogue scene related to this and overlay Oblivion music on top of it. And it's a pretty good result. I think especially when Data goes to inquire about what's wrong with Worf, and even that doesn't really make sense for Data the way he goes about that, but he goes up and says, "Worf, where are your friends? We're worried about you." Yeah. Which reminds me of an individual that both you and I know. And Worf, okay, I'll say that this was slightly humorous. He looks Data right in the face and he says, like, "Be gone," or he yells at him, and then immediately after, in a more soothing voice, "Commander."
Sir, he says, "Sir."
Yeah.
Cute, yeah, but yes, every scene involving this Worf subplot is awkward, written poorly, acted poorly. The beginning of this plot thread where Wesley and Worf are walking down a hallway, I wanted to just shoot myself in the head watching it.
It was bad.
It was really bad. It's so out of character for Worf.
And I'll say it was immediately identifiable as completely vestigial to the main plot of the episode.
Yeah. Yeah, you could absolutely tell.
Which was disheartening, I think. Oh no, not only do I have to deal with Wesley X Worf.
Worf. Oh no. Oh no.
Not only do I have to deal with this, but it's not going to advance the shitty plot either.
It's not only that, but it's not going to give us a fun acronym. I'm sorry, I meant portmanteau.
Yes, you should be sorry.
A fun portmanteau. Wes, I don't know.
Quarf? Crusher? Quarf?
Worsley.
Washer. I think that's a type of sauce. Oh,
so
jeez.
It feels like it's been a while since we've seen Troy, don't you think?
Troy has a lot. Yes, and Troy has a lot going on in this episode.
It's the first time we see her office,
which exists now.
Yeah, suddenly.
There's a funny scene where Troy is presupposing the motivation of Riker's father, and she says, "Oh, I bet you feel this," and he's like, "Not really." And she's like, "Well, then I guess you came here because you felt this," and he said, "No." It's like, Troy, what the hell? He can read his goddamn mind.
She's off her game. Maybe she can't read him. Maybe he's employed some kind of anti-betazoid minefield.
He did identify her as a betazoid by sight, so
yeah,
he might be familiar with their tactics.
By sight, I don't know. I guess they all look Greek or something.
They all have black, dead eyes.
Yeah, that was a weird scene too, huh?
It was.
The thing is, like, Gene was so against the idea of having this relationship conflict as part of Star Trek that none of these scenes ended up making any sense at all because we couldn't get to the emotional core of it.
No.
We had to dance around it the entire time.
The only thing I liked about Troy's inclusion was the moment of her and Pulaski connecting over getting their bones jumped by these guys.
Yes.
And that was a sincerely human moment between them.
Yeah, that's true. And there also was a line from Troy where she says some traits are endemic to gender, which
you can't say that.
Can't say that anymore.
At least it didn't annoy too many people because the script was talking about male aggressiveness instead of female irrationality.
That's right. Yeah. As long as we're talking about men, it's okay.
And, to the credit of that scene, all the men in this episode act ridiculously stupid.
That's true.
Could not stand. We're gonna have to talk about it at some point. Might as well talk about it now. The final confrontation of Onbo Jutsu.
Oh, Onbo. Okay, so just as an aside, Onbo Jutsu roughly translates to Way of the Red Bean Monk. Just so the audience knows, that was something that we'd been saving up for a while.
Did you learn that from June?
Yes, yeah, actually, yeah.
I always liked having him on set. I'm still annoyed that things kind of turned out how they did.
Yeah, it was a shame.
So we can tell this story. It's not a particularly happy story, but
yeah,
we can tell it. This Onbo Jutsu thing has a lot of Japanese influence. The characters speak Japanese at certain points. There's Japanese characters written on their armor, their equipment. Mm-hmm. So we needed someone to consult on this. So we brought in June. June's a native Japanese speaker. He was our Japanese expert on the set. He was kind of coaching the actors. He gave feedback to the prop department. Basically, every part of this process where he could help, he was there, and he was very, very enthusiastic about it. Great presence to have on the set.
Awesome person.
Problem came when it was time to film, and he's there. He's got his, copy of the script, and he's like trying to give Frakes and the other actors advice. And he says, "Okay, you got to say this, and it's pronounced this way." And we do a take, and Frakes would just butcher it. And June would come in. It's like, "Oh, stop! It's said like this." And yeah. I don't know how many hours of retakes we were doing, but Frakes just seemingly intentionally was not getting it. You can hear it in the final cut, the way that he pronounces it. It's just so off. And, June, I always thought of as a patient man, but by the end of that day, he walked off the set. He was sick of being so, I don't know, fragrantly ignored.
Yes.
Right in to his face. I said fragrantly, like a smell. Flagrantly.
Maybe he was fragrantly ignored as well. Who knows?
I mean, I didn't smell him. But June, puts the script down, walks off the set, the door closes behind him, and Frakes looked at me and just kind of made this offhand remark. He's like, "It's like Hiroshima," eh? And I really tasteless.
It's horrible.
Tasteless. June, if you're out there, we're sorry. That was one person. Don't we loved having you. We loved having you.
Yes. We're very sorry, June. Sumimasen deshita.
Yes. Gomen.
Gomen, yes, Gomen. Gomen Neisei. That's one thing that we would end up having to retcon because of this was the state of the Japanese language in Star Trek, which by this point we'd after seeing it in this episode, we had to make it such that it had evolved. You know what I mean? Into like a different kind of because you hear their lines in this episode and they say instead of yoroshiku onegai shimasu, they say oroshiko onegaishimasu, right?
Yep.
That's just how Japanese is spoken in the future. That's Gene's vision. So
it's a lot like some languages, Old English even, right? It's very different.
Yeah. Yes. And after a few hundred years, of course, things are going to change. So, but the set again was courtesy of Rick. He even made sure to get his Urusai Yatsura reference on a banner in the background.
He was very tickled by that.
Yeah.
That's actually, I didn't know that until June explained it to me. And I was like, oh, that's cute. It's a nice little joke.
Yeah. To say Rick was obsessed with that show would be an understatement. It'll appear several times throughout the course of this show. I personally think anime's for pedophiles, but
Rick, we watched him. We had our eye on him.
Yeah. I mean, as much as we could. So, he also had them write Yuri on the platform, the side of the platform. Which translates to lesbian sex.
Of what age?
Well, I think we can probably assume.
Oh no.
Yeah. A little bit of a dark history for the Star Trek crew here.
That I wasn't privy to this, but June must have been. Maybe that contributed to his mood.
I would sure that caused a certain level of offense. Yes.
Ah, jeez. Well, the dark secrets are coming out. Even I didn't know some of these. These scoops are unreal.
But let's talk about that scene, huh?
What do you think about Ambo Jutsu as a competition?
It's very silly, of course, but I wasn't offended by it.
I wasn't offended by it either. I found parts of it to be oddly kinetic in a way that Kirk fighting that lizard man never were.
You love going back to that well.
It's the funniest thing. It lives rent-free in my head.
Yes, it is at least fun to watch.
It's fun to watch, it's fun to play, and I love the idea that this has evolved, like blinded combat has evolved to like a formalized thing with rules and equipment, and it's a real sport. But the people who have been practicing it for decades still are just kind of flailing around and aren't quite sure of how to do it.
It's too perfect, really.
The choreography for that scene was pretty wild to get right, because those screens on their helmets, those are real. You can't see through those,
right? So
the actors really just had to have developed that sense, that extra sensory sense of where they were without their sight. And
they needed a real awareness of their bodies there.
Yeah. Now, when we were doing it, because we had done this, so here's the thing about Ambo Jutsu. This is not a complete element of fiction. In the writer's room, we had something called duo pinata, which was basically the same rules as on Bojutsu, except
Oh yeah.
a little more shots, a little more hazing, kind of a mood to it. But 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Friday, but the same rules basically. And I'll give it to Frakes. He was a lot more elegant than we were, having done it. That was his first time. We had done it many times. And you got to give it to him. Granted, he was sober, so I'm not going to say it's a completely even playing field, but yeah. On Bojutsu, which is kind of a stupid name, but Duo Pinata, a lot of fun. Would recommend.
Yeah,
it.
no, that was a good time. I totally forgot about that. Hilariously enough.
Maybe, if you lose too many times, then, you do too many shots,
and
you won't remember it.
Let's calm down, Mitch. I don't think I lost many more times than you did.
Well, which one of us remembered it? I'll just put it that way. If you have a couple of buckets and a couple of broomsticks at home, please, by all means, try it out.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Good drinking game.
Indeed. The emotional core of that scene was kind of off to me. I didn't feel...
Awful.
Yeah, I didn't think it was much of a visual metaphor for their relationship, and the revelation that his father cheated him at the sport was also out of left field and meaningless.
Yeah, and a lot of emotional weight was placed on that realization for no real reason.
Right.
It was his father telling him, of course I cheated, but it made you better, right? But no one would hear that and feel inspired.
No. And I'm curious how this ties into his parenting approach of not letting Riker reel in a fish that he caught.
Right. And I'm also curious how this applies to Riker's current predicament of accepting this promotion or not.
Oh yeah, we got to resolve that. Quick, throw in a scene at the end.
There's nothing connects in this episode.
No.
And the more we talk about it, the more it bothers me.
Do you still think it's better than The Naked Now?
Yes.
No way.
I think The Naked Now is just so horribly... It's just so bad. It
is
consistently acted poorly. It's not even fun to watch at any moment.
And this is?
Yeah, on Bojutsu fight.
Okay, sure. But I don't know. The Naked Now is literally the second episode. This is halfway into season 2.
All right. Well, I'm just saying. I think it's still worse.
You crazy kid. You crazy.
Damn. Where do we even go from here?
There's not much left to cover because there's not much that happens in this episode. We can talk about Kyle Riker's onesie if you want. How everybody, no matter how old they are, still wears a onesie in Star Trek.
Oh yeah, I mean it is the future.
Right. We need the most difficult to put on piece of clothing we can conceive of. So a fucking onesie for a...
Yeah, you have to wonder how everyone takes a piss, huh?
Yeah. I mean, other than mass catheters.
Right.
Maybe they beam
catheter.
They beam the urine out of them.
Possibly.
Like
it could be like I read these books. Gosh, what was it? 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Halo.
Oh, like a religious thing?
No. It's a science fiction book. You never heard about this?
I fucking hate sci-fi.
Oh. Well, we've worked on Star Trek, so, I feel like I should keep up with the sci-fi entertainment. And, yeah, it's a series of books, little-known series of books called Halo.
Okay.
Where the main character, he's a big fella who, he has a suit of armor that he just pees inside of, and it just kind of gets rid of it for him.
So wait, what's this about?
It's about he's a soldier, he's a soldier with a special suit, and he's really tall.
And he can pee in it.
And he can pee any fluid that comes out from there gets disposed of. by the suit.
Did this factor into the plot?
No, it was kind of just an aside in the narration.
Ah. On Star Trek, we always make sure to have payoffs for the concepts we introduced in the script.
Well, we never broached the subject, so breached the subject. Broached the subject. We never breached the subject, so
I don't know. It sounds like a fragrant violation of writing principles.
Maybe, but I'm sure there's a Memory Alpha article about it.
About Halo?
No, about how people pee. All right, hold on. We'll look it up.
All right. Star Trek urination Memory Alpha. Cortana. Google Star Trek urination. Oh, that's right. I don't have a smart device.
In the Star Trek universe, how do people go to the bathroom?
We do never see a toilet, I guess. There's never a scene where Picard drops a huge BM in the toilet.
It's just a bunch of people assuming there are toilets.
Look up the blueprints of the Enterprise, see if you can locate them.
Okay. Timothy Blaisdell, a fan of Star Trek since the early 70s on Quora, says, I have a set of blueprints for the original Enterprise that I bought at the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C. in the late 70s. These blueprints clearly show bathroom facilities all over the Enterprise.
Well, there we go. Now, the real question...
Wait, I'm not done yet.
Oh, sorry.
My friends and I used to keep these blueprints handy while watching the show and try to trace the characters' movements through the ship as we were watching. Often, we would conclude that a doorway a character was walking by was a bathroom.
I want to be that guy's friend.
So, what were you going to say?
I said the real question is, do they use bidets or toilet paper?
If they're civilized, I'm sure they use bidets.
I would hope so.
Yeah. In fact, paper probably doesn't even factor into the equation anymore in this future scenario.
I guess paper is seems like something that they would evolve beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have screens for everything, so it's not like there's paper there.
Right.
We'll have to do a good amount of research into the role of paper in 24th century space-time travel world.
We certainly will.
That's the title of my next thesis.
Well, that sounds like a banger.
It is. I'll bring the bangers, you bring the mash, and we'll get published.
There's a line from Riker's father in this episode where he says, "We aren't so different, Will and I."
Yeah. Yeah, he did say that. There's a line where his father says, "I can't just say how I feel."
Right.
Which was very on the nose to me.
Extremely on the nose. He's basically telling us how he feels.
Exactly. Which is great writing. Now, did you catch that Worf, a black character, said that he never knew his father?
You don't say.
I do say. That was actually part of the tie-in, because this episode was supposed to air on Father's Day. It's why the plot is what it is. Yeah. But you remember it. We had that problem with the network. It got delayed a week, and it ended up coinciding on the same day as Frakes' wife's miscarriage, and everybody was kind of put off.
Yeah, that was a shame.
I remember because we had our weekly watch party, and just as always, we demanded everybody was there, so we pulled in Frakes from the hospital, and then the episode started, and we all were like, "Oh, it's this one, no," and Frakes just sat there.
Well, you reap what you sow to some degree.
This is true. And you know what? I bet that somewhere at that time, June was feeling pretty satisfied with himself.
I would be.
Yeah. I'm not going to say he orchestrated the miscarriage, but, well, you know. So, anything else in this episode kind of getting you?
Oh, man. I don't think so. This is a really sad episode.
Sincerely?
No, I mean, like, it's sad as in there's very little to talk about.
Oh yeah, it's miserable.
There's none of the plot threads line up. All the characters act completely out of character.
The plot itself is just completely unengaging.
Mm.
And
when the best thing about an episode is Pulaski, you have a problem.
And she is the best part of this episode.
Yeah. Which isn't, it's not a knock against her character either, by the way. That's just a knock against the way that the writers treated her character.
Yeah. And this is maybe the second time that she was properly fleshed out in any conceivable way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And probably the first time she's fleshed out unto herself instead of just as a foil to Picard.
Right. And I guess we do have confirmation that 10 Forward has a bartender other than Guinan.
Yes. Because we don't have whoopee money for every week.
And they have waiters as well. I know that was a question that we brought up a couple weeks ago.
Right.
So they do have waiters, so that's good.
It is good, but it still seems like, why? Why do we have waiters in the 24th century?
Yeah, I guess so. Why not like a robot that just brings it to the table?
Right. Why not just have replicators at the table?
Yeah. Well, they're very expensive.
Ah, I see. My dream job is a chef in a time with a replicator, where I just go up to it and tell it to make something, and I get paid. That's my dream job.
All you need to be able to do to be considered a good cook is make some shitty scrambled eggs, apparently. So
this is white, don't even look like eggs.
They were alien eggs.
Oh, that's right. They were from Targus 4.
Uh-huh.
Or something. Yeah, I fucking hated this episode, and I was so bored just getting through it. I almost fell asleep on my couch.
Yeah.
Let me out.
It was a very boring episode. I will agree with you there.
I know the clip show is coming. I don't know what I'm going to do then, because that's going to be the most trying experience of my life.
We don't even need to really watch it.
We don't need to watch it. We don't need to watch any of these.
Well, we do it for the ensigns, of course.
Of course. And they're going to want our opinion on the clip show.
Yeah. Now, what t-shirt are we going to make from this episode?
That's a good question. I think that what we're going to do is very stylized, have like a varsity look to it, and like a high school... Well, here's what it is. It looks like a high school Letterman varsity jacket. And on the back it says... Anbo Jutsu team captain.
Yep. Perfect. I love it.
So look forward to that.
Yep. Oof, that's good. I can't wait I'm going to buy one of those myself.
I'm going to see about actually making a one-run line of Letterman's jackets with the same design. See if we can get the authentic. They'll be more expensive, the leather, probably $150, $200, but...
Yeah, if there's demand, we can make more.
Yeah, and it's totally worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, come on. You're going to be so readier.
So readier. You'll be the readiest person on the block.
Mm-hmm. On the black.
On the black. Just like Worf.
And his non-existent father.
Right.
Who actually does exist, but
right, he's son of Moog.
And in both capacities, by the way, his biological father and the father that raised him.
Worf's a man of many fathers.
Maybe he just didn't feel like either one of them was his father at that point.
Well, let's look forward to when Worf becomes a father.
Ah, yes. Yeah, that'll be fun.
I'm very excited for the Alexander episodes. Got a lot of stories about that little guy.
That little... Yeah. Alexander.
I guess that'll about do it for this episode, then.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, we're kind of ending on a wet fart here, but that's what this episode is, isn't it?
Luckily, we started on a wet fart, too.
Yeah. I'm not going to front. I couldn't think of a question this week for you.
All right, can I think of a question? Perhaps. Can I? I'm really rubbing my brain cells together here. All right. Okay, hold on. This one comes from, and don't look it up.
Mm-hmm.
I need to go look it up, but don't look it up. This one comes actually from the Readier Room Twitter account, our Twitter account.
Okay.
Which I use all the time, and you never use. All right.
Right.
I'm going to read you a quote that somebody said to a replicator. And what I want you to do is tell me what this is.
Okay.
So somebody walks up to a replicator and says, Phinoplaque, 100 Denkers. Now, what is that?
What do you mean, what is that?
I mean, what is that? Like, what if you had to... So it has like an analog in real world.
Okay, so what is the replicator gonna produce?
Yeah, so imagine I walked up to a replicator and I said, give me a plate of Jappers, and it puts out like pancakes, and these are like Klingon pancakes. You would just say pancakes. Okay. Now, I'm not. I know with replicator you might be thinking food. It's not necessarily food. So, Phinoplaque 100 Denkers. What is that?
Some amount of oil.
That's a good guess. It's not oil. Do you want another crack at it, or do you want the answer?
I'll do one more here. Phinoplaque 100 Denkers. Is it alcohol?
No, not quite. So what it is a kind of acid, which is like made in a beaker. This is from the Most Toys, where the guy who has captured Data asks his replicator for like a vial of acid, and I guess Denkers is like an amount, or maybe the concentration of it.
Yeah.
And he throws the acid on Data to dissolve his uniform to make him wear some outfit that he wanted him to wear to look better in his collection.
Incredibly hot. I was on the right track, though.
You were.
I was on the right track. I knew it was a liquid.
I was watching this episode, I don't know, somewhat recently. One of the few times I watched Star Trek recreationally. And I thought, wow, that's such a weird thing to say. Why does the acid need a space name?
Right.
But, yeah.
Well, it's a space acid.
Space acid. Yep, and he dropped it on Data.
Yes.
Well, unlike you, or rather, unlike me, you're not a trivia mastermind, unfortunately.
Mm.
So you'll have to study up for the next time you don't have a question.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to do it for this week of the Readier Room. You're welcome to join us next week when we keep our room readier and we discuss another episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. And as always, I want to remind you guys that the Readier Room is brought to you by Denny's. You know, check out our new Grand Slam hams over my hammy. And also by Bad Dragon. Not the good dragon, but the baddest dragon inside you. So join us next time, everybody. And until then, I implore you, please stay ready.
The troublesome little man-child.
Consider that in the history of many worlds, there have always been disposable creatures.
his own damn business.
When I stroke the beard thusly, do I not appear more intellectual?
Computer! Freeze program.
It's not a promising beginning.